Blackburn versus Southampton, it's your pre-match preview show. Thank you for tuning in, whether that's on YouTube or you're listening on the move on Amazon, Apple, whatever podcast platform it may be. First and foremost, thank you very much for being here. Thank you very much for tuning in and listening to this episode. And it is a superb episode that I have coming your way. We have a bumper hour or so that is coming your way. I've got all the team news because at the time of recording, I've just listened to Will Steele's press conference from Staplewood. So we've got all the team news. We'll bring that very, very shortly. We'll also be chatting with Oli Collins from Blackburn. He's a content creator, podcaster who knows Blackburn inside out, and is no better person to bring onto today's episode to give us that insight into Blackburn. He speaks very well. Not only does he know Blackburn very well, he knows football very well, and he's a very, very knowledgeable man. So very fortunate that he gave up some of his time to come onto this show today. So a massive shout out to Ollie. That is coming up very, very shortly. First and foremost, I want to have a look at each of the teams this season so far, their season stats, the headline stats. In all honesty, I'm going to look at the average SofaScore rating for each of the teams. I like SofaScore as a website, and the average SofaScore rating for Blackburn Rovers as it stands, and they've played a game less than Southampton. 6.71, Southampton 6.75, and matches played. They played a game less than us because of the game called off against Ipswich Town, which was at Ewood Park due to that waterlogged pitch. But they've had a rough start to the season. There's no doubt about that. 10 games for them, 11 for Saints. They've scored just the 8 goals. That's all they've scored. One of the lowest in the division. Southampton have scored 12. Goals per game, that works out at 0.8 for Blackburn, and Southampton 1.1. So if it stays on trend, it looks like a low-scoring game tomorrow. Goals conceded. They've only conceded one more goal than us, though they've played a game less. 2 clean sheets each. Assists for Saints is 7. Assists for Blackburn is 5. Ball possession of each team. Southampton slightly higher with, well, quite a bit higher, 60.1% compared to the ball possession of Blackburn Rovers, which is 49.3%. I'm going to give you my predicted lineup, which I've had to change within the last 30 minutes or so because Will Steele had a press conference, like I said, at Staplewood, and we do have a bit of team news, and it's not all positive, to be quite honest, because there is a few injuries and there is an illness in the camp, and that is Tom Follows, who was ill on Tuesday night. He did come on, but he was feeling ill on Tuesday night. He won't be available for this trip to Blackburn Rovers. He is out completely. Jay Robinson and Casper Yander both have the illness as well. They don't feel great, but they're going to see how they feel once they get to Blackburn on Saturday. They're both going to travel, but Fellows is 100% out. So it doesn't look like Yander is in a place where he's going to start this game. That obviously remains to be seen, but when you hear that they've got injuries as well, because there are injuries as well, there's not only illness, there's an injury as well, because he was speaking about Wellington in the press conference, and he picked up that knee knock in midweek, and I don't think he's recovered that well from it. He did train yesterday and today, but he is not feeling 100%. Mads Roslev trained on Thursday and could be in the squad, but Wellington does have a slight knock. I will give you my predicted lineup at the end of this show. So on the other side of Oli Collins, we will have a look at my predicted lineup. Like I said, I've tweaked that because of the injury. So Will Steele, like I said, he had that press conference, and I've got a little snippet and what he had to say going into tomorrow's game.
We've had three really good days. After that, we've had some honest conversations. We've watched it. We've analysed it. So we just want to get back out there and win the moments in the games that we're not actually winning for the moment. And I think that's what's costing us, is that we're doing a lot of positive things and we're getting the opportunities. But the key moments in the game, we're not kind of switched on enough, or we're not doing the right, making the right decisions or doing the right things to be able to swing a game in our favour.
That was Will Steele who was speaking in the press conference not that long ago. I'm sure the club won't mind me using that little snippet. It's just 30 seconds from the press conference. There's plenty more. You can catch up with the full press conference at 10:30 on Friday evening, or there is that first segment which is already on the club's official YouTube page. But at 10:30 there is an extended version which has the written press bit in it as well. I listened to the whole press conference this evening as well, just to make sure I didn't miss anything. But obviously the big news is around those injuries. But he did go on to say that they have had some frank discussions this week, and they would have done, wouldn't they? They've analysed it, they've watched it over Tuesday night, and like he did say, and he's absolutely right, we have to be better in key moments of the game, and we have to start killing games off and winning games and being a bit more focused, not just in attack, because it wasn't just about attack on Tuesday night, it was also around defensive frailties and issues as well. So as a whole unit, they need to switch on, don't they? It'd be interesting to see what the response is at Blackburn tomorrow. I see it as a massive game for everybody connected to the football club. It could be that opportunity to get a little bit of a springboard going into the game against Preston. I think 3 points is a must. I wouldn't really be happy with a draw tomorrow. I don't know about you guys. Look, if you're not going to win, don't get beaten, but you've got to go there and try and win this game. I think it's really important that we put 3 points on the board against a team from the second bottom. And he did go on to talk about Blackburn Rovers, and he said very similar to Saints, got a good manager. He feels they've got a good manager, good squad of players, and it's just not clicked for them. They're not killing games off, and they're not getting that rub of the green Blackburn at the moment. But you'll hear a slightly different side to that once we get our guest on, Oli Collins, which is going to be very, very shortly. So Southampton's last win against Blackburn Rovers was a long time ago as well, because our record against Blackburn isn't great at all, because the last time that we won at Blackburn Rovers was all the way back in 1998. And I remember 1998 is a year very, very fondly, actually. It was the year I left school, so I'm showing you my age now. I finished my GCSEs in 1998, and it was the year of the World Cup in France. And being a football fanatic as a kid, I remember saying to my father, I'm not starting work, because I was going to go and work in his sports shop with him. I refused to start work until the World Cup had finished, and I watched pretty much as many games that summer as you possibly could. I absolutely loved that World Cup. It's probably one of my fondest memories of a World Cup, if I'm quite honest. But yeah, it was a brilliant, brilliant summer. And just watching some unbelievable talent. Remember England's game against Argentina and David Beckham with that when he kicked out in that game. Key players for tomorrow's game coming away from 1998. Todd Cantwell, he is a doubt for tomorrow. He is Blackburn's key man at the moment. He is a doubt for this one. Oli Collins will give us a lowdown on the team news very shortly. He'll tell us who's been playing well. Like I said, we haven't won there since 1998. And it'd be interesting to know if you know who the goal scorers were on that day. Well, one of them was Matt Oakley, I'm going to say that. But who was the other goal scorer on that day, all the way back in 1998? And it was Steve Basham. I forgot about Steve Basham, but Steve Basham was the other goal scorer on the day at Ewood Park. I fondly remember Matt Letizier's goal at Ewood Park against his ex-teammate Tim Flowers, one of my favourite all-time Southampton goals. But our record at Blackburn isn't great, because I looked all the way back to 1993 on SofaScore this afternoon, and I can only see one win at Blackburn Rovers, and not a happy hunting ground. That will need to change tomorrow, because Blackburn actually, in fact, haven't won at home this season. They've had a dreadful start to the campaign. Ollie will give us a lowdown on that, which I'm going to bring Ollie in now. It's a perfect time to bring Ollie in to today's show, and I hope you enjoy my conversation with Oli Collins. And now it comes to that great part of the show, the bit I love the most, chatting to the opposition's podcaster, content creator. Today's is an absolute legend. We've got Oli Collins joining us from Blackburn. He is a big TikToker. You will have seen this man. If you're a TikToker, you will have seen Oli Collins. Oli, welcome along to the Football Martin channel. It's great to have you here, mate.
Yeah, same. I think we spoke about this for a while. So I'm very privileged to be invited. So thank you very much.
Mate, it's good to have you here. We've got so much to chat about in today's episode. We're going to cover quite a bit with you. I want to cover Blackburn. I want to get the inside scoop. I want to know everything about Blackburn. I want to talk about the Championship at the moment as well, and we'll have a look at the league table and the standings. have a little chat about the midweek fixtures. First and foremost, I said to you when I called you today, maybe make a few notes of topics that we can talk about. Did you get a chance to get any notes down, Ollie?
Yeah. You said to me just to give us a bit of feedback about how well Rovers are doing the season and everything else. So I made some really integral notes. So hopefully that will bode as well for the rest of this. Okay.
Talk to me, because last year, mate, Blackburn were really good for a long period of the season. Were awesome. Played some great football. What went wrong? What happened?
It's taken the core away from the squad, Martin. We lost a lot of championship experience during the summer. That would be the likes of Tyrese Dolan, Lewis Travis, Dominic Heim, Callum Britton. 4 very integral players. And the worst one being that Dominic Heim was sold on literally the 11th hour of the transfer window. So to this day, no Rovers fan can understand why the ownership, the hierarchy felt the need to get rid of someone like Dominic Heim, especially in the 11th hour. And then what we've then done, Martin, we've gone out to the European market and we've effectively bought a lot of unknown quantities. Players which, at first, it's a massive overhaul of a squad, 10 new players through the door. And you're thinking to yourself, it's going to take a bit of time for this to bed in. Now, we're starting to ask serious questions now as fans that were these players really sought after? It's not like we were competing. We bought one player which is injured, and we would have thought by maybe September time he'd be up and running. But clearly that's still not happened yet. We're probably not going to see him for at least another month's time anyway. And I do have a little bit of empathy for Valerian to a degree. However, with all the players that were going out the door this summer, they were within the club's control to stay put, maybe give new contracts, and hopefully time down to Blackburn Rovers. But what they've replaced them with at the moment, it just seems really inadequate. And there's probably been, of all the games this year, you can maybe argue that a good 80% of them we've been in the games. The one which we'll always kind of look to, which, we would have had 3 points, is Ipswich Town. But due to the weather, which we know how grim it is in the north, unfortunately, that did hamper some 3 points. And maybe, just maybe, we'd be sat here now being a little bit more upbeat. But unfortunately, that's the way things go in football, really. And we could argue it till the cows come home if those 3 points should be ours, but those are the rules. But otherwise, unfortunately, Valerian can't really argue. He's had the signings that he wanted. He's had Rudy Gestead doing the recruitment for him. There's been a lot of people, not just on the pitch, Martin, but there's been a lot of people that have been left go internally at the football club. People that are at that football club for more than 20-odd, 30-odd years. And unfortunately, the people which they have replaced them with are basically just inadequate to run the football club on the pitch and off the pitch as well. Yeah,
sad to see, because Blackburn's is such a decent, well-supported football club, a football club with so much tradition, so much history. And for me, when I saw you guys under John Eustace last year at the top end of the table, I thought, do you know what? Here we go. Blackburn are going to be right in the mix of the playoffs here. I could see them doing something really special. Been to the Premier League, know what it's all about in that neck of the woods. Here we go. And I thought it was really going to kick on as a club. And you must be really disappointed as a fan after that start last year. And it was going so well.
Yeah, it was. And John Eustace was a massive part of that. Now, if you take into account that when he came in, JDT had effectively left us in a bit of a peril position. We'd been on a landslide. He came in, shored up to the fence. And I'm not going to lie, initially, for the first couple of games, I was really wondering if he was going to pull us through. And the next thing you know, we get a big win away at Sunderland. And we were going back here 18 months or so now. And then we just about stayed up in the last game of the season, because we had a player like Sammy Simonics in our team who was banging in 30 odd goals for us. Fast forward to the season afterwards, and we lose Sammy Simonics. No Rovers fan was under the illusions we're going to keep him, because any top goal scorer is going to be sought after. So we deal with that. But what we managed to get in was a bunch of hard-working kind of graft players. We did get the likes of experience in Andy Weimann, Danny Bath, who I didn't think had legs in him still, came in from Sunderland with championship experience. And we had the likes of Callum Britton that really evolved, Lewis Travis, who was stable as a captain for a while. We got him back after JDT somehow sent him out on loan. And John Eustace there had a team of really hard grafters, and we as fans felt very close to the team. And it's simple little things like after the game, Martin coming round, giving all fist pumps, you know, he spoke of words about the fans' involvement, and you kind of felt like we were, the club and the fans were coming back together. Now at the moment, there is a fair bit of distance between us, and that's purely down to the hierarchy. The hierarchy's always still been there, but Eustace was kind of bridging that gap. Now, obviously, when Eustace left, and people have their own different opinions, I'm a believer of what I've been told and who I've spoken to is the correct information, and unfortunately left Blackburn Rovers. Where we then find ourselves really after that is, you know, Valerian comes in. It is a difficult circumstance. He's effectively taken over what was a good manager who had a love affair with the fans as well. And for whatever reason, there was a turning point last season where we were on the landslide yet again. We had Sheffield Wednesday at home, 2-0 down at half-time, came out second half, and from that point onwards, in those last 6-7 games, we saw the emergence of Cantwell, who I wanted to see more of during the season. And then players started stepping up. We managed to put a run of 5 straight wins together, and we almost got the playoffs. But the thing is, Martin, you've got people now in the Championship who've gone on, like Millwall, be it to reinvest, who missed out on the playoffs. You've got Bristol City, who were in the playoffs, have now reinvested, and they're still up there as well. We've gone the complete opposite, thinking that, to put this in context with people, as a club, if I was going to use this in like a supermarket kind of style, other teams are shopping in Waitrose. We are effectively shopping in the reduced section of like an Asda or a Tesco's, hoping to find something amazing, which is going to evolve into something and really, in other words, trying to get a player from, say, a Belgian second league who's just been relegated and thinking that he's going to be the spark or he's going to step up and hopefully take us that next level. And unfortunately, it's just not going to happen.
Yeah, it's frustrating, isn't it? When you bring players in and you just know they're probably not ready for the Championship. We've done it with several players over the summer, and you want ready-made Championship players if you want to kick on and move up the division, unless you've got momentum. I was reading some of the notes today, actually, from your manager, winless in 5 home league games this season, which is. Obviously, you must be really disappointed. Losing 4 and having failed to win any of your opening 6 games. The manager is worried, he said, about the home form as they prepare to visit of Southampton. You know, he's concerned about the home form. The fans must be really concerned at the moment as well.
Yeah, I do feel a little bit for Ishmael in a way. His interview after the game on Tuesday to Sheffield United, he did look like a lost man. He did look like it was getting to him, really. You could see him kind of with the microphone being a very lethargic. You know, it's almost like he didn't want to be there answering questions. So obviously we'll see what his character's like come Saturday, if hopefully we can get resolved. But it's not been a great environment, Martin, for many years now. I mean, obviously what happens is, and people do say this to me, is the football will kind of distract us from what's actually going on off the pitch. I'm sure most clubs deal with off-field matters. But unfortunately at the moment, because of what's happening on the pitch, all those off-field matters do come into play. That's never going to go away. Yeah. I don't think Valerian's the right person. I think we've got him on a very, I wouldn't say a lucrative contract for a Championship manager. And yet again, I could sit here and maybe give him a little bit of empathy. But he's gone out there. He's approved this recruitment. He's wanted these players. It's his tactics. It's his substitutions. He keeps coming out and throwing players under the bus. And unfortunately, the only way that's going to lead you to is the exit door and getting sacked.
Yeah, when you start throwing players under the bus, you know there is a problem, and it usually ends in one way or another, doesn't it? The result midweek on Tuesday night, you were at home. You took on Sheffield United, who have really struggled this season. Well, how did the game unravel? Because Sheffield United have been poor. They've been poor this season. It's one of only two wins that we've had. We beat them just, but they've struggled this year. Were you surprised at the result?
No, not really, Martin. To be fair, the first half, the thing is, we've nowadays in football, everybody lives off things like your XGs, your data, your stats.
Yeah.
These sort of things, I do fear keeps managers in a job where we know that on the eye, when we all watch football, if it's not appealing and we can't physically see the play happen, the patterns, even it's looking at the players' body language, are they engaging with each other? Are they walking past, are they stepping each other's toes out there? These sort of things I would look at. We have a manager and a football club philosophy where we just can't look at the XG. First half, there'd be an argument to say that Yuki Ohashi should be putting his chances away. We could look back at several games a season and say the same thing. But the football's not appealing, mine, as well. We were told we were going to play on the front foot football. I was told by several people that Ishmael, you'll get substitutions in the 60th minute to keep that high intensity. First half, I think we kind of contained Sheffield United and limited them to chances. Come the second half, I don't know what happened. I really would love to know what words were said at half time, because me would be simplistic as, lads, do exactly what you're doing. Press them, get at them straight away. And because they're going to come up to us, we're going to exploit some holes at the back, use the wing backs, and we're going to find those little pockets of holes and we're going to exploit them. But unfortunately, what we saw was just catastrophic. And it's games like this, and it's happened a couple of times, Martin, where for some reason there's moments of lapse in the game, and this stems from the manager, by the way. We lose focus, and unfortunately, we come out second best.
Yeah, because you go in at half time 1-0 up, didn't you? In midweek, you 1-0 up.
Yeah,
had all the possession, like you had all the from the stats that I've seen. You had all the possession, not loads of efforts at goal. There's only the one shot on target from Blackburn in the game. You've had a lot of the play.
Very scrappy first half. I think Rovers retained their poise a bit more better than what Sheffield United did. But I've always said, Martin, with Sheffield United, yes, I know they've had a bad start, but at some point they will retain their poise because they do have a very good championship squad. Regardless of where they are, it's a better team than what Blackburn are. That doesn't mean, by the way, I look at that result as a free hit and think, well, we should just accept that and move on to the next one. The difficulty is we didn't compete second half. The body language of the players was one of, we've given up. And that is frustrating in itself.
Yeah, it's worrying, isn't it? It's such an early stage of the season. Is it the weekend for you? It's not for us. It's a huge game. I feel like for Saints we come there and there's a lot of pressure on our manager. There's pressure on your manager. There's pressure on our manager. Actually, looking at the record, Ollie, I looked at the record. Your record against us at Ewood Park is very good. Blackburn have history on their side because Saints have only won one league game in 16 visits to Blackburn, losing 11 and last winning in November 1998. It was a 2-0 win in November 1998. It was a long time ago. So the record's good.
It's not. I mean, that's a stat that I was completely unaware of, Martin. I mean, 1998. I probably would just about vaguely remember that. I think that was in the season we were relegated from the Premier League as well. But I mean, it's got 0-0 for me written all over it. I'm sure we'll do score predictions in a bit. But two managers which are really struggling to find their feet. For you guys, it's a case of coming down, money spent, and trying to have a manager with a new philosophy. Obviously, coming off the back end of what was a poor season. And for us, I would argue that Valerian needs this. I don't think a draw saves him because the run of fixtures afterwards are not going to help him. I just think at some point in the next 4 or 5 games, Martin, whether it be this weekend or something, he has to go for me. But I have no confidence in our board actually making a tough decision like that.
Yeah, because it's a big decision to make, isn't it? It's a huge decision to make. I'm just looking at your fixtures now to see who you've got after us. Obviously, you play us at the weekend before the international break. You've got Leicester away, Bristol City, who we were beaten by in midweek, and then you've got Derby County. Big game against Derby County, isn't it? That's a whopper, isn't it?
It is. Now, the thing with the Derby one as well, Martin, that's going to be our 150th year anniversary game. And I said this season, when we went to the season, a lot of this has been kind of on the 150th year anniversary. And make no bones about it, by the way, that's a massive achievement. You know, we are one of the oldest football clubs in, you know, one of the founding football members, etc. So this year should, to me, be a celebration. Should be a celebration of the football club, the heritage and what's come with it. But instead, I just feel like because of the way the football is at the moment, that game, be it the Derby one, could be a very toxic atmosphere. I'd love, by why, when I say all this, I'd love nothing more than to be proven wrong. I'd love nothing more than for Rovers to go in the next couple of games and win them and shoot up the table and take away the narrative about how badly we've been recently. But all I ever do as a fan, as I'm sure you do as a fan as well, Martin, you're just pointing out things which are clearly obvious right in front of you.
Yeah, right in front of your face, yeah.
Yeah, exactly. It's like if I was in a relationship and somebody cheated on me, I wouldn't just kind of brush over it. You talk about these things, you know what I mean? You don't just pretend it didn't happen. And at the moment, there's nothing there at the moment which gives me any form of confidence going into these next run of games. I do really struggle. I really, really do. And I called this a while ago. And it's not like I'm sat here trying to tell Rovers fans, I'm right, I'm the oracle, I know exactly what I'm on about. But I just look at the body language of the players on that, especially when we go a goal behind. We have a terrible mentality about losing a goal and not coming back to win a game of football. Now, the last 2 years, I could be wrong.
Like
the last 2 years, and I know it's the hardest thing in football to come back from losing position, but the last 2 years, we've only done that 2 seasons twice. That really unsettles me. That makes me think that 1-0 down, your heads are down, we slump and we just give up. And that's not what, to me, Blackburn Rovers should be about.
There's a mentality issue there for sure, 100%, isn't there? Definitely. We've got something very similar. You know, if we concede, it's unlikely that we're going to go on and win a game. You know, we just about did it against Wrexham, but our mentality, we go 1-0 up in midweek against Bristol City. You think, here we go, kick on, go and get a second, go and get a third. Don't take our chances, squander them, and then you let them back in the game. And before you know it, you let one in, and then all of a sudden, everyone gets scared. Nobody wants to get hold of the game. There's no leaders, and before you know it, you're 2-1 down, then you're 3-1 down. It's game over, finished. And it is, for me, we've got a massive mentality issue within our squad.
You know as well, Martin, the Championship, right, is relentless, and I mean that.
Brutal.
I mean the fixtures alone tell you is relentless, and this is the problem that I've known of people, and I'm sure you might have done doing what you do kind of thing. People who work inside the football club, maybe ex-players, people who understand the mentality and where it all went right and why it's going wrong at the moment. And believe me, when I looked at the players this summer, now to a degree, I thought to myself, look, fresh new players, new start. But then you think to yourself, where's the experience? And the simple thing somebody said to me would be, imagine telling this new foreign player that you've got to go to Bristol City in a cold November on a Tuesday, okay, when you're down at the bottom. It's not a good place to go. It's not, not Bristol in general, by the way. No disrespect to Bristol City fans, by the way. But in terms of going somewhere on a Tuesday night, this is not working in a foreign country and going to some luxurious place in 25 degrees. This is when you have to do the nitty and gritty. It's going to be Saturday, Tuesday. The Championship is relentless, and you need players that are going to actually absorb all that, and they're actually going to go out and deliver a product. And I just look at our squad, and I think, how many players do we have that would go into the trenches? Like, if I went to war tomorrow, who would I take with me? And I tell you what, I'd probably at the moment, maybe take 2 or 3 of them in our squad, especially the starting 11.
Who have been the players that have shone for you? Who are the players that could cause Saints problems at the weekend? Who do you kind of look at and think, do you know what? He's got something about him.
I understand that one, Martin, would be, and he's not played the last 2 games, would be Todd Cantwell. Now, I can't work out what Todd Cantwell's kind of injuries have been like previously at, say, Norwich and Rangers. And I looked at this recently after international break. He doesn't seem to come back, and that kind of worries me. Is this kind of like a long-term thing? Somebody told me he took a knock, but I think to myself, you've had 2 weeks off, so what is going on? He has been a massively influential player, And whether that captain's armband has led to a bit of a cape and he's stepped up and basically given the ball, pivots pretty well in the middle. There was times last season when we first got him, I thought, are we going to get the Todd Cantwell, what was at Norwich and was quoted as 30, 40 million to go to the Premier League? Or are we going to get a very lackluster Todd Cantwell, which a lot of Glasgow Rangers fans were telling me that he was lazy, too lethargic, and his heart wasn't in it. And it did seem we were getting more of the Rangers kind of Todd Cantwell. And as the season went on, there was glimpses where he did all the things he did when he was being touted for going to even bigger and better things. And at the back end of the season, that all came together as well. Arriving late in the box, being that person who could string a pass together, sometimes probably too lethargic in the passing, but when he's motoring, he's the one that's making that 10, 20 yards forward. He's bringing players out of position. He's allowing players to go up the width. There's so many good things about him that he's been great this season. And I think the reason he has stepped up, he has got the captain's armband. As a captain, you've got to lead by example. Now, is he a captain similar to Lewis Travis, where, he's rough and ready and he'll throw himself in front of grenades or run through brick walls? I don't think so. But he has been definitely the standout performer for us this season.
He's still young, isn't he? I'm just looking at his statistics. He's only 27 years old. He's had 3 championship promotions on the CV as well. He played a lot of games at Norwich. I didn't realise how many games he played at Norwich. He was about 129 games in total for Norwich before he went to Rangers in 2023. He was touted as a top player, top player.
He was. And so last season when we got him through the door, I think a lot of Rose fans saw that as a marquee signing. And why wouldn't you? It's Todd Cantwell. He's got, he's quite renowned within the Championship, stepped it up with Norwich in the Premier League. And I thought we were on to an absolute winner there, personally. Took him time to get going, but now he is showing his worth. I can't say that he's had a terrible game. I think the one game which he would have been the Charlton one, where we did get, done over 3-0, and absolutely Charlton were on it that day, and we weren't. And I think if you stop Todd Cantwell, that might mean you put 2 or 3 players, you press them quite well, then it maybe stops the flow of Rovers going forward, really, as well. Because in the last 2 games, we have missed that, definitely. So if he is playing on Saturday, brilliant. Do you
think he will be available Saturday? Is it likely that he will be available?
I'll be honest with you, I don't really know. I don't know what the story is at the moment. I would only hope that he is to be. But if he isn't, then we are struggling. Because I think the last 2 games, there has been glimpses, but collectively, I'm looking for a captain or a player which, yet again, when we get to 60th, 70th minute and we're trying to drag a result out, we need players like him on the pitch. And I look at what we've had the last 2 games, and it, again, doesn't give me any form of confidence.
You need that experience. You need people that, like you say, are going to dig you in when it's getting tough. When the going gets tough, they're going to lead by example. That know the division. It's important. I say it all the time. I think for any side to do really well in this division, you need a really good core in your team, but you need leaders, good goalkeeper, centre back, central midfielder, striker. You need that core. You can build around it, but it is really important. I think it's so underestimated. A lot of these clubs and teams. I think the answer is bring in youth and bring in young players, and that's the answer. But I think you've got to mix it up. I'm intrigued at how we'll look the weekend. Of beaten heavily in midweek, whether he's going to make wholesale changes. We've not had our press conference with the manager yet. That's tomorrow, so we'll get a bit more of an idea of who's fit and a bit of a feeling of what he's thinking now. Your manager, has he had the press conference already at the time of recording? We're recording on Thursday.
To be fair, Martin, I'm not too sure.
I think it's maybe tomorrow.
The problem is I've got to the point now where I've kind of, as sad as it sounds, I've already switched off. I couldn't care less really what he says. It just sounds like, to me, the same dribble we've heard for the last couple of weeks about performances and working hard and everything else. And there's only so much you can say. I want to come away on Saturday with a result. And I said against Sheffield Wednesday, my match preview, which was effectively, I couldn't care less if it came off someone's backside. If we put 10 men behind the ball, I need 3 points. That we're perilously close. We're not perilously. We are in the relegation zone, right? And sooner or later, teams are going to start pulling further and further away, and there's going to be a larger gap, and we're going to be left behind. We need something this week, and I only pray we could get 3 points. I just look at our manager and I think, of all the tactics, what he's made, prime example on Tuesday was you take your 2 strikers off, which fair enough, okay. Andrew Gudjonsson, who's Ida Gudjonsson's son, don't get me wrong, I would love him if he was 1/10 of what his dad was like in the Premier League with Chelsea. But it takes Yuki Ohashi off. Now, Ohashi is, the way to describe him would be, I'm convinced he goes home, recharges himself, he's full of energy, he's full of life, he literally likes to play in the cusp of a defender, always wants to get around the back, peels away. You could tell that in the last couple of games, he's just taken those chances. And what he then does is, he takes Gudjonsson and Yuki off and puts 2 wingers on. And then he puts Matt Targay on in the last 5 minutes when we're chasing a game. And then he's got the goal to come out afterwards and blame that he's looking at the bench at plays like Gay and he doesn't have any confidence with putting him on to go and change a game. Now, last season, don't get me wrong, Matt Targay is definitely not a complete championship striker. We bought him. We all thought to ourselves he's going to be a complete flop. And for some reason during the season, when we just thought that this guy's useless, couldn't trap a bag of cement, flying balls out, kicking balls into nowhere at times, somehow he just gained a bit of poise. He did the simplistic thing. He's a big, tall lad. He used his power. He was aiming balls and he actually came away with just over, I believe, 10 goal contributions, which is not a bad return for a guy who was in sort of a Belgium league who got with a team that got relegated. So it was a decent return for him, actually. And he does have something to give because there is a love affair of the Rovers fans. We chant his name. He smiles. I saw him during pre-season. There was a lot of good things that he does. I just, like I said, I think Ishmael throwing players under the bus is only going to take you one way. It's only going to end one way.
Yeah, it's not going to end well. We should have a look at the Sky Bet Championship table, look at where we both sit. We're both in the bottom half of that table. Just 5 points between us at this moment in time. Saints in 18th, Blackburn Rovers in 23rd. You've got the 7 points. We've got the 12. It looks like you say, you have to get a win quickly, because Sheffield United, they're going to start finding some form. Derby, will they be in the mix? I'm not convinced Derby will stay up. They were one of my favourites to do well this year. They've had a shocking season so far. When I watched them the other week, I thought for periods of the game they were okay, but their fans were pretty disgruntled around the ground beforehand. They're not massively happy with Eustace at all. He took that move there, and they don't particularly like him, do they?
No, but I'd have John Eustace back in a heartbeat. That's the sort of the polar opposite, really. But he's gone to Derby, and I think Derby have spent some decent amount of money. They recruited what would look like a very good championship players. Clinton Morris, Brereton Diaz, for example. They've got Andy Vyman, who's got loads of experience. I can understand why the pressure would be there. But I think this season more than ever, Martin, the championship is incredibly competitive. Really is.
It's nuts. It's absolutely nuts, isn't it?
Now that doesn't vindicate and that doesn't justify why Rovers are in the position. I'm not going to sit here and say. And I saw a pod the other day and I quote, and it said, "Are Rovers in a false position?" No, we're not. We're in exactly where we should be. I couldn't care less about the XG. There was a table which I probably should have sent to you before, Martin, where basically it was talking about goals created, opportunities. Do you know who was sitting at the top of that table? Southampton was sitting top of that table. Blackburn was sitting 6. I just hate things like that. I really do. Okay. It's frustrating. And it's the kind of thing that whether it be Will Steele or Valerian Ishmael could turn around to this team and think that's a form of motivation. That does nothing. You have to put points on the board.
Yeah, it's all about the big stat. And I was looking, but just before we come on, and I've popped it on the screen, the goals conceded and the goals scored, because really and truly that's the stat, isn't it? That is the stat we want to look at, is how many goals we're scoring, how many we're conceding. And to be fair, like, we've conceded a fair few goals. I think we're at 15 at this moment in time. Blackburn at 16. So we're both conceding loads of goals and goals scored. we're both low on that table. Like Blackburn have only scored 8 and Southampton have only scored 12. So the pair of us are not scoring a load, but we're letting a bucket load in.
Well, like I said, Martin, this is just, it's so zoned on this game being a 0-0. It's got it sort of written all over it, really. Creativity, I mean, we've shown that we can create opportunities, but like I said, we have to start judging the recruitment where those players who we've spent a decent amount of money on can't seem to actually put the ball in the back of the net or at least create something out of it. The one thing I've hated, Martin, and I don't know if you get this really, and this is when we said before about the Championship being the relentless league it is I hate it when you get the fan, maybe it be my fans or you get other opposition fans when they've got a team that go, players need time to bed in. I hate that, okay? Because we are a quarter of a season into Championship. Now, fair enough, I get the pace is going to be lag, but what are you being told in recruitment? What are you doing during pre-season? You know, what are you telling your players? So when you go out in pre-season, fair enough, I was abroad this summer watching Rovers, had a great time over there. We played against Qatar FC and I think Elche, and Elche probably being the more competitive one. We played the likes of Aki Stanley and Everton. And to a degree, I think watching us against teams like Everton, who fair enough, it was their first game of pre-season, did probably give me and other Rovers fans a bit of false hope because I thought, wow, the signings are coming in. They look like the bedding. You know, we look like we're playing on the front foot. But we've not delivered anything of that. And then next thing you know, you get fans who'll go, yeah, they need time. They're only young. No, they're not. They're professional footballers. They're over 20 years old. They've been bought for a sizable amount of money. You have to come and you have to take on the pressure of playing for a professional football club in what is a very decent league in the Championship. And some would argue probably more competitive than most top leagues in other countries. So I continuously hate the thing where these people spin this and go, you've got to give them time. You've got to give the manager time. Our manager's been in situ now since March, and we've only had 2 wins at home in that time. I'm not getting my value for money as a fan.
It's not good enough, is it? Yeah, it's not good enough. It's only going to end in one place, isn't it? Form like that, it only ends in one place. It ends up with relegation, and that is not what you want as a football club. No club's too big to go down, but Blackburn is a huge club. It's not. It would be you. It's not where you want to go. You've done the hard work to get to where you are. You want to build on it and kick on. From what you're saying, I'm not convinced your manager will last. It'd be interesting to see if our manager lasts as well. I hope he does, and I hope he can turn it around. But like we talk about time, you've got to kick on when we've spent a lot of money. We spent a lot of money, like big bucks. And like we've got a parachute payment team, you've got to start getting results. And you can say, you know, everyone's saying, yeah, be positive, you know. But I'm finding it really hard to pull up upon loads of positives. There are some, but we have to start winning games. And we come to you at the weekend, and like for me, it will. If we didn't get a result, I dread to think how our fan base would react. I don't think it'd be great at all.
I think, like I said, it's there could potentially be a fair bit of toxicity around the game on Saturday, and they could go either way. I mean, for example, Rovers. Let's give a prime example here. Say if Rovers go 2-0 up, Southampton fans could start emptying the stadium. A lot of chance for maybe Will still to go, and vice versa. If Rovers are 1-2-0 down, Adam Armstrong, because he's an ex-Rovers player, is probably going to score against us, as they always do. And if Rovers find themselves 1-2 down, then all of a sudden you've got the hysteria of the crowd. It's going to kind of jump on the manager. He's going to have to sit there. And like I said before, it could be a really difficult atmosphere for one team come 5 o'clock, unfortunately.
Yeah, I'm coming, but I've got a ticket, and I'm like, I felt a bit under the weather last few days. I realised I felt a bit like I've had a touch of flu. I'm like, hopefully I feel better come the weekend. And I was just like, do you know what, the thought of it, to go there and it's a long way for any Southampton fan. I know a lot of Saints fans that have sold their tickets or are just not going to go. I know a lot of fans that are not going to go. It'd be interesting to hear how many that do travel, but it's a long way to go when you're out of form and you're not playing well. So I'm intrigued to see what our support's like at the weekend. What's yours been like?
In terms of what, mine? In terms of what
like
support?
The numbers. Yeah, in terms of the numbers. Have the numbers been lower because the form's been poor? Like you're saying, only 2 wins since the change of managers and.
Yeah, I mean, Rovers will always get a bad rep for having terrible support, really. I mean, to answer people who keep always coming on these social media sites and saying, look how many fans they've got, or look how many they brought away. Rovers, Blackburn is a small town, small population. Yeah. And for what we do, we used to have seasons of the Premier League where we used to get 1/3 of the population, which ain't bad, really. I mean, God bless Jack Walker, built as a stadium, which was 1/3 of the population. Maybe going back, if you look back, maybe a stadium sizably of 15 to 20,000 probably would have been best suited to us, but we're here what we are now. But same again, even if you look from a commercial point of view as a Blackburn Football Club, you're not getting bums on seats. It's not exciting. And that alone really would make me think, well, how can we drive fans in? Now, Eustace got us more excited about Blackburn more than probably since the Tony Mowbray era. And that was going down to League One, getting promoted, and having a good 2-3 years on a Mowbray at the playoffs. Now, all of a sudden, the numbers are dwindling. Yes, it is tough times, by the way. I do think Rovers' prices are very competitive, but it is tough times. And it's like, for example, on Tuesday, I unfortunately couldn't get to the game on Tuesday. But sitting there at home, you do think, well, I probably got away with it. But I love going to football and I love supporting my team. But more than ever nowadays, Martin, because of what's available for people to watch on TV, or for people because of the cost of it, or because how bad your team's doing, put all those three elements together and it makes an easier decision to not want to go to football. And I hate being that, but I don't want to be that person.
I'm like you. I'm exactly the same. I feel very similar at the moment. I walked away from the game on Saturday and I felt just like I didn't enjoy it. And I want to enjoy watching my team. I want to enjoy watching goals. I want to see end to end. You want to see action. I think in football in general, it's a conversation probably to have with you. In a lot of games I've watched this year, is like a lot of sides are really safe. There's not loads. I haven't seen loads of goals this year. Like I've been to a lot of games, but not seen loads of goals. I've watched a lot on TV, and I can only say there's one game that I thought was really exciting, and that was probably Super Sunday last Sunday, the Liverpool United game. It's the only game I've really seen this year. I thought, wow, I quite enjoyed that.
Yeah, I mean, they were talking about this before on, I think it might have been Talk Sport actually, and they were saying about how there's less goals. I'm guessing more teams have been promoting from the Premier League and not just been so open. Teams are more or less nowadays have come away from the Pep Guardiola style football and realizing that defense is probably the better way forward for a lot of teams. And yeah, don't get me wrong, football has to be an entertainment entity in it somewhere as well. And you have to be excited. You want to go to the game and you want to feel like, I'm buzzing today. I want to buy a drink. I want to get something to eat. I want to spend money in my football club and be happy and see some exciting football. But more than ever now, because of how the product and what probably we're both seeing from both our clubs, it almost feels like a chore to turn up and be there. I respect the fact that people love, I go to a lot of games. I kind of feel sometimes I have to be there because I've got a platform and I can see it for my own self, and then you sense the atmosphere.
And people want your opinions. Like people tuning because they want to hear from you. Like you've got something going now. Like and I'm looking like I'll be looking for your reaction on the weekend. Like I was looking for your reaction the last two games because we're playing you in a couple of weeks' time. I'm like, I want to know what Ollie's saying. What's happening at Blackburn? I was like, and is hearing your thoughts. You seem downbeat on it. You were disappointed with what you're seeing, and I wait for it. And a lot of other fans do as well. So you kind of like you're in that position where like you've started it now. It's hard not to do it.
Yeah, I mean, I'm going back a while ago, Martin, where I thought to myself, I'm going to give this a try. Probably used to get about 5 or 10 likes, and all of a sudden now,
there's thousands of people wanting to hear your opinion.
Yeah, I mean, saying that on Tuesday, I remember I was kind of recording it, and I'm sure you're like me. I'd like to do it in one full swoop, and you get a natural,
I don't like to hear,
instant reaction. I'm used to probably shouting at my camera. I think my phone's even scared of me at times from how I can come across. And I did one where I was like literally screaming, and then I kind of deleted it, and then I just sat there and I thought the one I delivered on Tuesday was just monotone. It was just like, I was just sensing the sense of the fans, which was, I can't do this anymore. I could sit here, I could scream blue murder, but I just thought it was just the tone of it. What I need to do on Tuesday was one of, what's the point? What's the point of giving? What's the point of going anymore? What's the point of turning up from a football club? You know, what is the point anymore? Because if they on the pitch can't give me any energy, then I'm not going to give anything back. I'm sorry. There's only so much as fans that we can do. Players and fans need to meet in the middle if we're going to achieve something.
I totally agree with that. The players, like, but we talk about it all the time. You want to see commitment. You want to see people wear the shirt with passion. You're speaking earlier on in the show about like players grabbing the shirt, you know, coming over at the end, like fist pumps. So interacting with the fans. I think it's a really important part of football at any club is that the manager, the players all link with the fans and thank the fans and like just recognise them. I think it's a small thing to do, but such a powerful thing though.
And I don't think enough. I really don't think enough clubs realise it. Like, don't get me wrong. I love wearing my colours with pride. Now that might be if I go and play 5-side football. It might be if I wear it at the games. I could just be walking down the high street, Martin. I'm proud. I love my football club. I've seen good times, bad times, and everything else. I live and breathe it. Like I love it for the Saturdays. I love it for the Tuesdays. My daughter now loves it. She's now questioning. Good. She's now questioning why we do it at the moment because of the results. But it's little things like that, and that's what I liked about Eustace. It was almost like his, and I knew somebody who knew him very quite well and still does to this day. Is he wanted to bridge that gap? He wanted to make fans feel in love with the football club again. And then I still remember, and it's the one, somebody said to me last season, what was the best game you went to? Okay. And I stand by this comment, by the way. We played Derby in the opening game of last season. It was a Friday night. Now we were getting rid of Simonics, which is fair enough. He had to go because of the money and everything else. We had a new team, and people had written us off already. People saying we're going to get relegated. Rovers are going to suffer this season. What I saw that night was 11, including the subs, of hard-working lads, which embedded the words on the badge, which stands for hard work and skill, right? The atmosphere was electric. Those lads gave everything. The fans were fantastic. After Eustace going round, he was giving all this, fist pumps. We were chanting his name. We were chanting the player's name. It was the happiest time in a long time at Ewood Park.
Yeah.
And I never thought I'd say that about a championship game. People would think I'd be saying, you know, a Premier League game from years gone by or maybe a recent FA Cup or League Cup game. But it's that one game where I walked away that night and thought, wow, I was almost like a little bit emotional to say, wow, I feel like I've got my club back a little bit. I feel like we have. And then just when you feel like you're getting your club back, all what happens off the pitch ruins it every single time. Every single time. They make, and I don't want to get too much into because obviously we're talking about the football side of things, but they make terrible decisions, which unfortunately makes me fall out of love with my football club, Martin.
Yeah. It's sad to hear. And a lot of people down here are talking about like our owners and what's happened off the pitch. And it's a big topic at the moment. It's a huge topic. Every video I put out it is the biggest topic at the moment is our owners. I think people get to a point and they're looking at how their club's being run and who's running it. It's that time of the show as we get to the back end of our shows where I want to grab a score prediction for the game this weekend, Ollie. How do you see it unraveling? Do you think you can get the win? Do you think you can keep history going?
The stat alone we talked about at the beginning there does breathe me a little bit of confidence, don't get me wrong. And we do need a win. And as I said before, I kind of feel the writing's on the wall with Valerian in terms of, I think if it's not this weekend, maybe in the coming weeks it'll happen.
Yeah.
But I like to see, I also do like to see someone come through adversity and hopefully, prove people wrong. And if elements like Todd Cantwell was playing on Saturday, if the lads look like they're up for it, I see no reason why we can't go and get a win. And I'm going to say the results, which when we've got wins, we've kept people at bay. But you've got the likes of Adam Armstrong And don't get me wrong, I knew Adam Armstrong from his days at Blackburn. So I'm gonna be confident. And then again, I say this. I always say one result from the head and one result from the heart, kind of thing. The heart is saying a 2-1 Rovers win, and the head is saying probably a 1-1 draw.
Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised to see it be a draw. We are the draw specialists of the Championship. Get involved in the comments box below. Give us your thoughts, your score predictions. Love to hear your opinions. Ollie, it's been an absolute pleasure speaking with you in today's show. For any fan that wants to tune in to you this weekend to get your reaction, where do we find you? I know where, but let everybody else that's tuning in know.
Yeah, so hopefully trying to move myself onto YouTube soon anyway. But at the moment, it's simply Jolly Ollie, BRFC, on TikTok. Please go and give us a follow, give us a like, because every little one pushes me to ultimately our target, which is reaching 10K, and then furthermore prolonging this as a content creator.
Yeah, please go give Ollie a follow. I will leave all your details in the show notes if you're watching on YouTube below. If you're tuning in on download, I will leave Ollie's details. So go give him a follow. You can go check all his instant reaction after the game at the weekend. It will be well worth checking it out. Ollie, it's been an absolute pleasure. Thank you very much indeed. What a great guest Oli Collins was. Thank you, Ollie, for joining us. What a great insight into Blackburn Rovers. Things not looking great, are they, inside the Blackburn camp and in their fan base? No better way to get an insight and a feeling of a club at this moment in time and to bring on a podcast, a YouTuber, a guest around that club. And that's what I've done with Ollie, and he's given us that great insight. Right, team lineup time. I've popped it onto your screen. If you're listening in audio format, I will talk to you about my formation. I'm staying with the same formation. Alex McCarthy in goal. I think the back three remains the same, though. Jack Stevens, I wouldn't be surprised to see him start tomorrow, but I don't think it can be Harwood, Bellis and Stevens together. Too much of a liability together, the two of them. Not enough pace. Both of them had a nightmare at Hull. He won't go back to that partnership. It will be Wood, Edwards, I believe. Obviously, if Stevens comes in, it will be for Harwood, Bellis. That would be my thoughts on it. Then that I look across midfield. Manning will come in at left wing back with the injury to Wellington. He has no option to play wing backs really. Ryan Fraser, though, if everyone's fit, I don't think he plays tomorrow. He wouldn't have played, but now I didn't have him in my original team, but I've changed it. I think he'll end up playing at right wing back. Though, what are the other options at right wing back at this moment in time? What else could we do? We'd be interested to hear your thoughts on it. Flynn Downs will come in midfield, I think, for Casper Yanders, who's ill. Shay Charles, I think he sits in there with him. Whether those two can play together, we spoke about it a lot. It didn't look great. But I do believe the leadership of Flynn Downs and an opportunity for him to stake a claim to get back in the team. Just hope he takes that tomorrow and doesn't get booked inside the first 6 or 7 minutes. Then I look at the front three. Leo Sens has been superb. There's no doubt that he starts his first name on my team sheet when I was laying up this lineup today. Cameron Archer will keep his spot and they'll keep him going. He just needs to find a goal really, really quickly. And Adam Armstrong, the captain, he will play in that right-hand channel. I think that is our team tomorrow. I don't see any other way that he can go without really putting Ronnie Edwards at right back, going to a flat four, Manning at left back. Does that leave the two centre-halves a bit exposed? I don't know if there's enough pace with Harwood, Bellis and Edwards. But like I said, I wouldn't be surprised to see Jack Stevens come back in. Give me all your thoughts on my predicted lineup. If you're watching on YouTube, get involved in the comments box below. What would you do if you were Will Steele tomorrow? But I still feel going forward, we do need to have a look at being able to play with other systems. There's no doubt about it. He said today it's not all about system. It's about how you get the ball back to front. But surely the system does have a little bit of a say in that. But he said it is about not making silly mistakes, taking your chances. And I guess if everyone's fluid and you can kind of, I thought we did it really, really well at one stage against Swansea. We slipped into a back four at times. I think it was Borough actually. Middlesbrough at home, they always played with a 4, then played with a 3. It was quite good. It was quite fluid. I'd like to see more of that. I think we'd all like to see more of that. That is the pre-match show. Score predictions, you need to get those in the comments box below. I am hoping to go to the game though. I have not been feeling great all week. I've felt really under the weather, a bit of flu. felt achy. I've been going to bed quite early a few nights this week, which is really, really unlike me. And then at the time of recording, it's Friday. I've had an awful night's sleep. I've had about 6 hours and I feel exhausted. And to get to Blackburn tomorrow is not particularly easy, though I will try and make it. I've got tickets, so I will try and make that trip. And if you are travelling, like I said at the top of the show, please take care, look after yourselves and your family. Have a great day, and hopefully we will be reporting and speaking about a win tomorrow night. My instant reaction video will be live within an hour of the final whistle, and if I do make my way to Ewood Park, there will be some form of match day vlog as well. Stay tuned to the channel over the weekend as well. We have a championship roundup show which goes out on Monday. That's a new show. I'll be joined hopefully this week by Adam Boycey, good friend of mine who comes on the channel. He's known as Adam Boycey. He comes on, and there will be loads of content throughout next week as well. Thank you for tuning in. Have a great weekend, and I'll see you tomorrow.